Hi, welcome to my second channel. In this channel, I am helping those who are thinking of becoming a driving instructor or those who have already started to become a driving instructor. My name is Abdur and I've been doing this job for over 20 years. So I'm just sharing my journey, giving you my tips and advice, everything that I know for you to become a driving instructor, for you to pass your part 1, part 2 and part 3. So everything that I know, hopefully giving you all that should help you to become a driving instructor, to pass all your tests that you need to become a driving instructor. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about giving you some tips and advice on ADI Part 2, the driving test. So in this video, I'm going to give you 6 tips to help you with your ADI Part 2, the driving test. Let's start the lesson. Number one, for you to become a driving instructor, remember your driving is one of the most important thing for you to become a driving instructor. Why? Because everything that you do, the way you drive, that's the way you are going to teach your learners. So your driving shouldn't be just preparing yourself for you to pass your part 2, but also to drive in a way so that you have a habit of doing that, not just for the test, but every day when you drive. Because what you do will reflect what you teach. Remember, don't preach what you don't practice. You must practice what you preach, and you are preaching to teach learners the way they should, for them to be safe drivers, for them to be good drivers. And the only way you're going to do that is if you are good, if you have those habits to be a good driver, to be a safe driver. It's no good prepare yourself just for the test, but you don't have those as your habits when you are driving. Number one, make sure you study the highway code and the driving the essential skills. These are the 2 books you must study, you must learn, because these are the 2 books which is your guide for you to become a driving instructor. The way you teach, you should be teaching the way it's been advised in highway code and in the driving the essential skills. These are the 2 books, like I said, your guidebook. For you to become a driving instructor, these are the 2 books you need the knowledge of. You must read, you must understand the rules and the regulations and the advices and the tips given in these 2 books. It's not how you drive, it's the knowledge that you have, how a person should drive. Only then you could pass the message on to learners. If you don't have the knowledge, you won't know the knowledge to pass on to your learners. So those 2 books are your guide the way you drive. Only then you will pass on to learners. So like I said before, don't preach what you don't practice. You should read those 2 books and you should practice those. Only then you will preach. Also, having those knowledge and having the habits of the way you drive according to those books, it will be easier for you to teach, because you don't have to make anything up. You don't have to think what is right and what is wrong, because you already know and you already have those habits when you are driving. Okay, so having the knowledge of those 2 books is essential. Number 2, when you're driving, especially for a long time, you get bad habits. And one of the bad habits many drivers have is they put the clutch down every time they need to slow down, they need to stop. They put the clutch down first and then they brake. Well, that's not the way you should be teaching. You should be teaching if they need to slow the car or stop the car, they should be braking first, not the clutch first. They put the clutch down at the end. You need to understand the job of the clutch, job of the brake, and that's how you're going to teach your learners. If you don't have those habits, it'll be hard, it'll be difficult for you to pass the message on to your learners. So like I said, because you've been driving for a long time, before you become a driving instructor, you're going to have many bad habits. And one of the habits is before you slow down, before you stop, especially just say there's a traffic light coming up, or you know there's the end coming up, end of the road, and you know that you have to stop over there. The first thing you do is you put the clutch down. That's one of the bad habits many drivers they pick up over the years. And I'm sure you probably have the same. If you do, make sure you get rid of that habit, because that's not what you're going to teach your learners. So like I said, as you're driving, there's a traffic light coming up and it's red. You know you're going to stop over there. You could cover the brake and the clutch and you brake, brake, brake. And just before you stop, you put the clutch down. You don't put the clutch down and roll the car, because that is known as coasting. And coasting is fail in the driving test because it's a bad habit. That's not the way you should be stopping a car. So every time you stop, don't put the clutch down first and then roll the car on the clutch and put the clutch and put the brake at the end. It should be the other way around. Okay, so that's one of the bad habit you need to get rid of. Don't coast, because that's not what you teach to your learners. That's not the way you should be driving. So understand the coasting and understand you don't put the clutch down first, you brake first if you need to stop. And the third tip is holding the steering. For now, according to study, it is advised for you to hold quarter to 3. In the earlier days, it was also 10 to 2 and quarter to 3, but now the advice is best quarter to 3. So make sure you have that knowledge and you know that the best place to hold the steering, which is quarter to 3. Okay, one of the reason is because they say this is the best position for you to hold to steer and not to cross hands, and also because of the airbag in the middle, you don't want to have crossing and covering the airbag. You want to make sure you hold quarter to 3. That way you could steer better, quicker, and also you are keeping yourself safe from the airbag in the middle. So make sure you know the new thing they advise now, which is quarter to 3 for you to hold the steering. The reason I picked this as a tip is because, like I said, you've been driving for a long time and now you want to become a driving instructor. I am sure you have bad habits of steering, crossing hands, and all that. You want to get the habit when you are driving is to hold quarter to 3. That way, you have the habit. It will be easier for you to pass the message on to your learners. So, where you hold the steering, you must get a habit of doing that all the time when you're driving. So, when you drive, have that habit so that you take that habit when you are teaching. And number 4, I picked as a tip to remind you the meeting situation, the meeting traffic. I picked that up because many driving instructors don't teach that. They don't remind the learners about the meeting traffic. So I just want to remind you about the meeting traffic so that when you are doing your test, ADA Part 2 driving test, before you go, you have the knowledge and you know that many learners have problems on those, so that if you have it, it will be easier for you to pass the message on. What is meeting traffic? Meeting traffic is where there is no space for 2 cars. So you are driving on a road where maybe there are parked cars on both sides, or maybe there is a bus, or maybe there's roadworks, and because of that, the road becomes narrow. There's no space for 2 cars to pass. In that situation, who has priority? Many learners, they get confused. They don't know how to deal with that situation. Meeting traffic, like I said, there's no space for 2 cars. Who has priority? Who's going to give way? What does the book say? If you have no space for 2 cars, there's a car coming, you're coming, or you're going, who has the priority? Who's going to give way? The answer is no one's got priority. So who's going to give way? You're going to take control to give way. As you are doing it, if they stop, it's a bonus. If they don't, no problem. I'm preparing myself to stop to give the other car away. If the other car stops and flashes, what does that mean? Do I know in that situation, if they flash, what does that mean? You as a driving instructor need to know this so that you could pass the message on. So as you are stopping, they stopped for you and they flash. What does that mean? Does that mean can I go? Or does that mean I shouldn't go? Should I flash? Is that allowed? If they allow me to go, as I'm going, can I thank them with my hand? Can I wave? These are the things as a driving instructor on those situations you need to understand. So I'm giving you as a reminder, putting it in your head so that you look into that subject and you learn so that you know exactly what you should do on your ADA Part 2, the driving test, so that you know and then you will know how to pass the message on. Tip 5 is joining motorway or dual carriageway. In your driving test on your ADA Part 2, you will be driving on motorway. For you to drive on the motorway, you'll have to join the motorway. For you to join, make sure you speed up and you match the speed on the joining lane, the speed of the motorway. It is very important. Many they fail because they don't match the speed with the motorway. So whatever the motorway speed is on the joining lane, you have to match the speed. That way when you join, you don't slow the car behind. So for example, if you're joining a motorway and it's 70 and you are driving 50, Soon as you join, the car behind may be coming, maybe you had the gap and they're coming 70, they're going to close the gap really quickly. So you need to make sure that you match your speed on joining lane. Many, they forget to do that. They are too slow, and then when they join, they're slowing the car behind. Okay, so make sure you remember to match the speed on the joining lane to join a motorway or dual carriageway. And tip number 6 is one of the most important, is for you to master the MSPSL routine. Make sure you as a driver, you master the routine of mirrors, signal, position, speed, and look. So every time when you are driving, make sure you think of mirrors, signal, position, speed, and look. Don't just do it because you're going to do it in the test. Do it because that's you are doing it. That's how you are driving. That's how you drive using the MSPSL routine. You've been driving for a long time, and maybe you are not doing the MSPSL routine. Maybe you're just looking at the mirrors and putting the signal on and going. What about the speed? What about the position? What about the final look before you go? So when you are dealing with junctions, going left, going right, when you go to the end of the road, when you're dealing with roundabouts, make sure you are always using the MSPSL routine. As a driving instructor, that is one of the most important thing you will have to teach your learners, to master the MSPSL routine, because without that, you will never be safe on the road. You as a driver, you as a driving instructor, don't have that habit in your driving. Imagine how you're going to teach your learners. So it is important you as a driving instructor have that habit. So before you go to your part 2 test, make sure you train yourself. Just go out and drive and make a habit of MSPSL routine on your driving. Not just for your test, but forever. Because then on your teaching, naturally, it will come in your mind for you to remind your learners. So number 6 and the final is the MSPSL routine for you to master, for you to have the habit on your driving before the test and after the test. Okay, so these are the 6 tips I've chosen on this video. There are more which I will cover in the future videos, but I just wanted to cover these 6 because I believe that you've been driving for a long time and there are many bad habits which you need to get rid of. Bring in good habits so that you become a good driver, for you to pass the test, as well as for you to become a good driving instructor, for you to have the knowledge so that you could pass the message on. The only way you are going to pass the message on is if you have the habit in your life, the things you are teaching. Then teaching becomes easy. If you have the knowledge, if you have those habits in your life, then teaching becomes easy because that's the only thing you do. That's how you are driving and that's how you are teaching. So I hope the video helps. If it does, please do give a thumbs up and please do make a comment what you think of the video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, and hope to see you again on the next video. Bye for now.